Lightapalooza lights up Dallas, looking ahead to ISE and what customers are looking for in voice control. All that and more next on ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 467, recorded Monday, January 20th, 2025. Lighting the way. This is ResiWeek, the weekly look at the residential AV space. My name is Tim Albright. I'm your host this week because we can't find Matt Scott either in Canada or in the U.S. We don't know where he is, and that's okay. With me to talk about the news we've gathered, first and foremost, Robert Archer from CE Pro. Welcome, sir.
How you doing, Tim?
I am well, sir. Good to see you. And also with us is Brandon White from our friends up at Vanco. Welcome, sir.
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. I mentioned up at Vanco. I'm in St. Louis. Brandon and his team is up around Chicago, not exactly Chicago proper, but Chicagoland area. How about that? It just means that he and I are both very cold today. First story comes to us actually from Mr. Archer's publication. Zach Como writes in CE Pro about a couple of interesting pieces, really about voice control and how the smart home industry is really kind of getting into this and digging into AI powered voice control. Now, you've got folks that are leading this charge with Apple, Amazon, Google. They're revamping their voice assistants with sophisticated, context-aware capabilities. CDA-focused companies like NICE are taking a privacy-first approach, though, with their own AI assistants. NICE recently launched their voice assistant, Milo. It exemplifies this shift, offering context-specific controls without data collection, a feature that lets users create custom scenes and automations through natural conversation rather than complex programming. Now, Paul Williams, old friend of ResiWeek, old friend of AVNation, he is NICE's managing director of home management. He says that this AI-driven voice revolution represents, quote unquote, the next chapter of the connected smart home, potentially transforming how we interact with our living spaces. Mr. Archer, I'm going to start with you on this. When it comes to voice control, when it comes to control period, and you're talking to the customer, the folks that are really kind of putting these systems in, how much do they care about privacy versus ease of use, or privacy or data collection versus, having their technology all in one basket, as it were?
It's a really interesting question. I think probably most consumers on a broad level don't care. They're speaking into their Alexa or whatever, and they're asking for their favorite music or whatever, or to dim the lights, or maybe to place an order for more diapers from Amazon or something. Who knows? But there is a certain segment of homeowner that probably does care about it. We should note that Josh AI is a big proponent of secure and private interactions with these voice control systems, and they were arguably, I won't say they were the first, but a case could be made that they were the first to really promote this. And it's good that NICE is doing the same thing, but I would guess maybe to the type of clientele that NICE and Josh AI are targeting, that it is a more valued feature set.
Brandon, same kind of question is when you're talking to dealers and then you're working with their clients, how much of a concern is data and data privacy for them?
I would have to agree that I think for the most part, most don't care. But I do think that the ones that do care very, very, very much. I think that there is definitely a market that does care very much so about and how that can affect them, or the fear of it being affected. I say fear because I do think that drives some of that market to an extent. I don't know if that's a right way of saying that or not. I don't know anymore. But I do think that fear is definitely does drive that market into wanting that privacy, ensuring that privacy. Now, it's almost like one thing where you could say it, do they still believe it also?
There is that, right? So one of the things here in Zach's piece, he mentions Apple, Amazon, and Google. Each of those have their own version of data privacy statements, right? Apple has famously gone after the likes of Meta when it comes to data privacy. In fact, Apple has listed a bunch of their beliefs and things that they are doing to according to Apple, keep your data private. Now, Meta has on the other side, and more specifically, Mark Zuckerberg has on the other side, he has gone after some of Apple's laxes in when it comes to security. So you've got what I would consider the big technology folks, right? The folks that are Silicon Valley through and through, and they are the multi-billion-dollar behemoths, kind of battling out over what does privacy mean and what does secure mean. Whereas, to Robert's point, you have folks like Josh AI and like Nice saying, well, wait a minute here. We're going to even take it a step further and give you, the ultimate, again, to in their view, the ultimate in data privacy, the ultimate in keeping your information safe, while at the same time providing you that automation that is ubiquitous, whether it's Siri or Alexa or whoever. Yeah.
Mhm.
Robert, when you, because both of you kind of said, those who do care very much. This is still a business, so how much do they care? Like, what is that? What sense of a premium do you think that people that do care put on this?
I think a very high priority. I think in basic terms, we can think about it. I remember about 10 years ago or so, I took a marketing class. I had to get certified or whatever. And they talked about pixeling online consumers.
Yep.
And it's kind of, people don't equate it, but that privacy is getting pixeled. I love looking at guitars and stuff. And I go looking at guitars on Sweetwater or something. Before you know it, I'm getting all these ads, all these guitars that I can't afford are popping up. So it's something like that. Maybe the privacy people care about. They don't want to be pixeled. They don't want those guitar ads.
Yeah, and that's a fair point, actually. All right, our next story comes to us. Actually, this is pretty much everywhere, including AVNation. Lightapalooza started this week. Lightapalooza 2025 takes place in Dallas. It is promising to be the smart home industry's premier lighting event. It brings a mix of high-end integration as well as manufacturers all together in Dallas. They have sessions covering everything from basic lighting design to cutting-edge energy management, with the smart home market increasingly focused on integrating lighting solutions. Lightapalooza is aiming to be the go-to event for professionals looking to stay ahead of the curve in this rapidly evolving space. Brandon, I'm going to start with you on this. I remember a time, probably 8-9 years ago, there were a couple of buying groups that got together and said, you know what, lighting is an opportunity here. Right, it is a chance for home integrators for the CI market to differentiate themselves. It is a revenue stream. It's a way for us to kind of demonstrate our chops, both from a technical standpoint as well as a design standpoint. So let's get together and let's make lighting a thing inside the CI channel, and they did it. Right, Lightapalooza is one of the things that kind of evolved out of that. But you have certifications now. You have lines that didn't ever show up at CEDIA Expo 10 years ago are now all over the show floor in Denver this past year. So when you take a look at this segment and go, okay, the CI channel has done a really good job of educating themselves, of ramping this up. Okay, lighting is a thing inside CI. Absolutely. Where else can we go, right? Where else can we go inside residential homes and go, okay, here's an area that is not very well served today, or it's served over here in kind of the outer reaches. What else can we bring into the residential market that CI dealers can kind of make their own, like they have with lighting?
Well, I remember when I was an installer, first off, we did a little bit of it, but it definitely wasn't um, as forthcoming. The business was there. It was a very small portion of what we actually did. In terms of installing. It's great to see how much it's grown over the years. So many more companies to the point where there is, Lightapalooza at this point. It makes 100% sense, and from an installer's point of view, being able to add more value to what you can do and offer for your customers always helps the bottom line, always allows for additional growth, organic growth, if that, in business. So I love that. I think Lightapalooza is great because of it is definitely of a more AV centric feel to it. With the companies that are
Yeah.
there, they're familiar with the AV industry. Those that go there are familiar with their products as well. From there, I think it's a great introduction into how far it can really go, not only in residential but in commercial. The integration aspect of it and how that's improved so much. In my opinion, of what I've seen, we don't do light. That's one of the things we don't do. Um, but we don't do lighting. But it's been great to see how much that's evolved in terms of integration side of it and just making it complete smart home type of atmosphere. Um,
Yeah.
and it's great also because if they do want to get more, they could also see it in different ways. There's other types of shows. So my son's hockey coach is actually head of a rep group in New York. He has like 20 different lines, and we've had lots of conversations about just how much that industry has changed. And talking about the integration side of it, he now knows. Before he knew what Crestron was.
Yeah.
Now he knows quite a few more integration brands and companies that are within ours. So it's just interesting to see how everything's merging, and people go further down that rabbit hole if they want. You go to other things like things called Leducation down in New York City or the Light Fair in Las Vegas, things like that, to really see how far they can go with it. So I think it's a great opportunity ultimately.
Bob, same kind of question is when you look at what the industry has done with lighting, where else can we look to and create the next Palooza, I guess?
I would say it probably, if I were to guess, it would be what we were talking about in the prior segment. Probably voice control and AI based smart home control solutions, simply because it seems like, in an overall sense, that's where the market is heading. I would like to say clean technologies, but or clean energy, but if you look at like what the EV market is doing right now with cars, a lot of the automakers are struggling to sell their EV products right now. So maybe the public doesn't want battery powered homes and that ability to get off the grid. Maybe what they want is intuitive control so they can control their lights, control their whole house music, um, their home theater, their security system, as easily as possible.
Brandon, let me bring this back to you for 1 second, because something Bob just said there is you've got the ability to bring in smart home controls and figuring out what the market really wants and what they're really after. And this it kind of brings it back to a couple of things that we have talked about as the industry for probably the last 5 or 6 years, probably longer than that. And that's how many different types of markets there are in when it comes to home and home AV and home entertainment. You certainly have the higher end, right? And these are not to be silly, but these are multi-million-dollar homes, several hundred thousand or $1 million projects. Then you have a middle market, and that middle market can be whatever you think it is. And then, of course, you've got a smaller market or the lower market. Where does lighting fit in there? Is that is that exclusive to the high end market, or is that can you get a lighting system into a mid market project?
I think there are definitely ways to do that. There's just from a CI standpoint that typically, and I think that typically ends up being higher end markets. Um, but I definitely think that there are bridges to across other markets like mid-level markets as well. And I think that as it continues to grow, it'll probably grow even further because that seems to how lots of other AV categories and products have always gone as well. There's
Yeah.
the top high end, and then there's the can do about 90 to 95% of that, just a little bit less, and then so on and so forth. So I think to a degree, it definitely would be accessible across markets, or already is really. Um, I remember definitely doing more though, where it was only high end. So I guess that's things where things have changed. Like I remember, if we did a Crestron job, residential Crestron job, they had lighting, they had shades, whereas most other more generic or mid level type installations, they usually didn't go for it. back then. So it's great to see how it's progressed.
And you actually brought up another segment there as well, and that's shading. And not only is shading a growing part of the industry, shades have been around for a long time, and I'm not saying that shades is an emerging market. It's not. It's been there, but bringing that into the AV segment and having the CI dealers install shades, start designing shading systems is certainly something that's also grown over the last 10 years as well. So that's been interesting to see. Last story here comes to us from ISE. Actually, ISE 25 is coming down the pipeline. It is the showcase where the residential AV world is heading into Barcelona, honestly. The show is betting big on home cinema, media rooms, and smart lighting. Areas that CEDIA's research suggests are primed for serious growth across EMEA as well as the rest of the world. This year's edition is rolling out some notable firsts, including a new flexible day pass system and an expanded innovation park where startups can pitch their latest tech. The event is going all in on AI too. I am not kidding. You're going to have a difficult time finding a stand at ISC that doesn't have some sort of AI. But the show itself is bringing in futurist Brian Solis for the opening keynote to break down how artificial intelligence is reshaping the industry. Between the dedicated smart home technology conference, a packed CEDIA workshop schedule, ISE seems determined to position itself as the definitive gathering for anyone looking to stay ahead in the increasingly competitive world of AV. Mr. Robert, I'm going to start with you on this, and it's probably an unfair question, but I'm still going to ask it anyway. How did ISE become the premier AV show in the world that it has become?
This may be political, but I think that the CTA, they won't be happy about this, but I think they priced a lot of companies out from exhibiting in Vegas, and ISC represented a nice alternative, particularly for American companies that are willing to go over to Europe to grow their market. They can exhibit, they can hopefully reach new customers and new dealers, and I think it's grown from there. If you look at what's going on at CES, you hear less and less about the AV companies, and you hear more about those companies exhibiting at ISC. So I think some of it was probably cost driven, that these companies wanted to exhibit their products and meet with people face to face. At the same time, ISC emerged as this viable platform, and it allowed them to reach international audiences without incurring the expenses of maybe exhibiting at CES.
That's a good point. Brandon, this is the third time you guys have been to ISE?
Fourth time with our own booth, and then we were there. 2018 was the first time when we acquired Beale Street.
All right. So why did you go?
Honestly, love it. It's a great opportunity. I agree with a lot with what Bob had said, because I do 100% agree in terms of CES as a show is completely different now. Go to CES a lot for meetings, kind of walking around. I go for other purposes, being on the product development side, to be honest, because it's really grown for those purposes, to be honest.
No?
I think ISE is at the beginning of the year. It's great timing wise. It's a great launch and start to the year to announce products. We're actually super excited. We have our first new product announcement that we're going to have at ISE this year. So fourth year in, super excited about it. Looking forward to get some of the feedback that we get from there. I think it's going to have a lot of potential, but it's just great. I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. It's Infocom, it's CEDIA, it's a lot of different markets and verticals all in one building. I think they've done a great job with location, certainly. I mean, we spoke a little bit about this before getting on, where Barcelona is a fantastic city. I think there's a big draw to that to some extent. Now, the first year we went, it was in May. So that's comparable to San Diego in terms of weather. Did not argue with that. But in general, I mean, being in the Northeast most of the time, can't complain there. But no, it's a great show. Lots of different cultures, lots of learning from and conversations that we have from the people that we work with. It's all organic growth from our point of view, because we've really only been within the U.S. and North American markets. So just tons of potential. Every year is just surprise us more and more.
You kind of spoke into what Robert was saying about U.S. companies trying to expand their reach beyond North America. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Robert, what are you expecting? You're not going, but Zach Como from your team is going. What are you expecting to come out of the show in 2 weeks?
Based on the press materials that I've been getting in, I love that they're emphasizing home theater, and it's high end or luxury, high performance, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
home theater. So you're going to see the Storm Audios, the Trinops, and brands like that exhibiting, and I think that's exciting. Even if you can't afford that stuff, to be able to experience those demos, it'll set a benchmark for a lot of people. So the fact that they're making AV important, and going back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, lighting. This is I think AV guys hate to say this, but a lot of times lighting is driving the bus now, and AV is almost an afterthought. With ISC, it seems like it's not an afterthought. So if you want to see some really cool AV, ISE in Barcelona is probably the place to go right now.
Robert, I want to pull on something you said there. You said, luxury home theaters, you may not be able to afford it, but it creates a benchmark. How does it do that? Like, because and this feels a little bit of a continuation from CEDIA in 2024, just a few months ago, where there was more home theater demos on that show floor than had been in a very long time at a CEDIA. I don't know about you, but I spent multiple days there getting demos, sitting in, and I saw the same version of Top Gun Maverick in 15 different locations, but it was still exciting the 15th time. It was fine. But what does that mean that these home theaters that we're seeing demos of, they're aspirational, right? Like this, I am not going to spend $1 million on a home theater. I'm just not going to do it, right? But somebody might see that and go, okay, I would like something like this. I don't have $1 million, but is that what you're talking about? Where it's something where this is a high end, but you can get something comparable.
Yeah, and I think it's what sets our side of the electronics industry apart. No disrespect to the mass big box retailers, but you walk into one of those stores, and there could be some 12-year-old kid playing with the knobs and whatnot and screwing up the home theater demo, so it sounds like garbage. But when you go to ISE or CEDIA and you get a home theater demo, it's people like Anthony Gramani, spending countless hours calibrating these systems. It's Jason Dustle from Meridio calibrating the video. You're seeing these systems and these products performing at their peak because people have taken the time and put the effort in to make them perform to their utmost. And one thing we do know, if you talk to the AV experts, they'll tell you that the top end of this market, it can rival any commercial theater. So if you have that kind of wallet to afford those type of systems, you can match what's going on at your local Cineplex and maybe even exceed it.
Absolutely. And I think that the crass way to say what Robert was trying to say nicely is there's real professionals doing this, not, some 16-year-old kid, my kid's 16. He would be the one at Best Buy doing that. So, all right. All right. Thank you guys so much. Mr. Brandon White from Vanco, they will be at ISE. So, Brandon, how do people connect with you? How do people connect with Vanco? And if they are going to ISE, where will they find you?
Our booth is in Hall 5, which is the multi-technology hall. Makes a lot of sense for us because we got a little bit of everything, certainly. We are booth 5N100. You can reach out to our website for additional information on products at www.vanco1.com. You can reach me at brandonw@vanco1.com or find me on LinkedIn as well.
All right, very good. Robert Archer from CE Pro, thank you, sir, as always. How do people connect with you, and how do they follow along for the CE Pro coverage of ISE?
They can go to cepro.com, or they can go to Instagram and follow me at BA1, the number 1 Boston.
All right, that's appropriate. Absolutely. So thank you. And the next time you're at CEDIA, you have to come and stop by and listen to the CEDIA All-Star Band, because Mr. Archer is a key point, key member of that band as well, playing his guitar. So thank you guys so much. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others, including a brand new AV Career Mastermind, where our host, Jen Weaver, talks about recruiting and referrals. We mentioned IS here at the last. You can go by our website and check out our coverage as well. We are heading over, and I actually got roped into a CEDIA conversation or a residential conversation myself. I'm going to be part of the Z-Wave Alliance's panel on Saturday, the 8th of February. So I will be sticking around Barcelona one more day and hanging out with our friends over at Z-Wave Alliance. You can check that out as well. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AV Nation.